Hello everyone and welcome back to the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. Today we're looking at kind of part 2, kind of conglomeration of several days of work here to work on the log trailer. So I had part 1 kind of getting the fundamental design down. This is going to be a lot of kind of doing some welding, getting pieces put in place, and kind of just getting some of the touches on it. Probably break this apart from another video where I kind of go into more of putting the wheels on and that kind of thing. So the other piece that we decided to go ahead and add was a better structure in the front, just so that it would be able to handle a winch that we eventually want to put on there, then also just any weight kind of going up to the front hitch. Here we're making a T that will slide into the front of the angle where it comes together. So just getting a couple pieces of channel welded together here, and then a piece going up so that, or a piece on the bottom so that we have kind of a T shape to help strengthen it. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Here you'll notice we added a piece of angle iron on there, so you have to be careful whenever you weld. You are heating up the metal quite a bit, and as you heat up metal it wants to warp. So if you're welding the top of this, it's going to want to kind of come up, and we wanted this to be straight, so we put that piece of angle iron on there to help hold everything while I'm welding. So we just weld that on, and then eventually we'll grind that off. So in a lot of our projects you'll see us do that just to kind of help keep things straight while working on it. So just lay a couple things or a couple welds across the end, and then get both the sides. Here I think again just using some 7013 or some 6013. It seems to be working fairly well on this material and makes a pretty nice weld once you're done. Notice on this we just stitched up the piece that goes up. It doesn't need to be a solid weld, but did do a solid weld at the bottom. So here we needed to cut pieces that would be the little brackets that would go inside the big channel around the pipe. It would kind of help strengthen that. It would keep the wood from going in under the channel, then also help that channel from bowing in. As you can see, we were using the chop saw, but it wasn't working very well on this pipe, so I ended up getting out the torches to kind of cut those angles. So just have a kind of a rough cut of all of them here, got them ground up, and then kind of had to do a final fitment of each one in the future. Okay, so here's getting that piece of that T that we made into the channel. So again, just kind of put a piece, didn't actually weld the piece on top there. It's just to kind of help make sure that we're level and we're not pointed up or down. And then to start with, we just get it tacked in place. Just kind of help hold it, and then once we're happy with it, we go ahead and weld up everything. Put some on the inside seams there and along the top. So remembering that we're going to bend those two ends in to that center T. We want to weld the inside now because after the fact it would be much more difficult to get in there. Here we got out the needler just to clean up anything. And here just using some clamps to kind of bring those in initially. And doesn't work great just because as you come in you end up with an angle. So we kind of come up with a different approach at a later date. Like I said, worked on this over several days, just working on it in the evenings after work. So only kind of would get 2 to 3 hours of kind of working on it before it either got dark out or, you know, just wanted to turn in for the night. The other thing we need to do, and kind of what we were trying to do here, is just get it close enough because we need to cut that top at the angle it's going to be pulled in. So just use a square, kind of get a mark, and then we have a little metal saw, which typically we use for like cutting sheet metal, like for roofs, but it seemed to work fairly well even on this. Okay, so we weren't super happy with the clamps, so what we did here is weld a couple of nuts on that a piece of all thread would go through, and then a nut the correct size that we could actually use to hold that piece of metal in and hold it. And then we did use clamps just to get the kind of the up and down, the vertical axes correct so that it was lined up across the top. The bottom's going to hang down more, but we wanted that top to be flush. We've got that all welded up because they look like they all thread out, but there you can kind of see a little bit better example. The two nuts welded on, and then just that piece of all thread through. So now it did leave a pretty big gap there, just because we were off on the angle a little bit. So here just using some, I think 6011 with some 7018 as kind of filler rod to help fill that gap. It's like on this, because it will be structural, what we do is kind of get that filled in, and then we'll take a piece of 7018 that still has the flux on it, and we'll do a pass over that to burn out any impurities and make that a stronger weld. So Dad's in the background grinding down and cleaning up those angles that we had done previously on the torch. And here I'm just working on getting any holes filled. We have kind of a couple angles. We had to put in some pieces to weld in, and then did some welding on the end of where the actual eyelet will bolt for the hitch. There you see we left it sticking out. And here is the plate that we drilled holes in, so we used an annular bit like we have in the past to drill out the holes. And these are the mounting holes for the actual hitch for the panel. So because of the angle and everything, or with the spacing, we had to cut some of the bolts off so that it would fit in place. And again, this is a structural piece that will be, holding quite a bit of the weight, so we want it to be a good weld. So just do that, clean it up, make sure there's nothing else that needs to be hit, like I needed to do there. Rotate and do that next side. And here it kind of gives you an idea of the panel and how it's, attached in. The front part, the hitch for the panel put on. So we bolted it to this big piece here and then welded that on. So have that welded on, and then just tap these bolts a little bit, just so it wouldn't spin, but we can still take this on and off. Put the lock washers and everything on, but we're going to let it cool so we don't get any bowing. So this is the correct side up now. So we still have our braces to put in. They'll go from here to there. So they'll just be little pieces to help strengthen this. And then we'll also be able to start working on figuring out where our fulcrum is going to be, because we want it just a little heavy on the, so idea is that we'll pull it behind the otter, but it's a little heavy on that side so that you can have a little bit of log sticking up the back if needed. Here's a look at getting all of these set up. So we have to kind of custom grind each one with the angle because all of these aren't exactly the same. So we kind of mark them to get them set in, and then we go through and work on tacking everything together to then be able to do full welds around each of these. Able to just use the grinder to do that, so have a hitch on the back of the truck there that we can put a vise in so that we're able to just do the work right there, modify, check it, and just kind of keep going through all these. So I want one on each one just to help strengthen, like I said. Then also it will kind of stop the log, any smaller logs from kind of getting stuck there. And when removing the log, if we're pulling it off the back, it won't kind of get caught on anything. Now here's just a quick look of that vise that's on the back of the truck. We'll just clamp it in, and Dad's kind of doing the grinding as I go through and mark each one. Then here he's holding it up against, and then I just do a couple tacks to get everything in place, and then go back through and do a full weld. So I'm going through and doing all the welding on this. Just kind of a quick look. So I do a handful, and then Dad will step in and do a handful. Able to do most of these in this orientation, just sitting between each of the bars, and then we rotate as needed so we can do a better weld for the different pieces on the actual channel. So again, if you can weld kind of where you're on the flat like that, not having to weld up and down, definitely makes it a lot nicer. And since everything's on the forks, we're able to pick it up so you're not having to crouch down when welding, and you can kind of do it more at waist height. Anything you can do to make it more comfortable definitely makes it nice, definitely when you have a lot of welds like this to do. So the thing that's next is getting the wheel hubs and the bearings on so the entire frame is complete. So here we need to put spacers in because of how the wheel bearings are made. The mounting piece is actually set in a little bit because it's off a four-wheel drive vehicle. So the splines would normally go in. So we need a inch piece of metal behind. So these are 1/2 inches that we're going to stack together and drill. So start by taking the torch and cutting out the circle that would normally be where the splines for the axle go through on the wheel hub, but we won't have anything there. We'll just have these brackets behind. So get these cut out, and then we'll go through, and once we have all of them made, we'll start drilling the holes where the axle to the frame. So that's kind of where we're at. I'll probably end the video here, and then the next phase will kind of be getting the wheel hubs and everything actually attached to the frame, and then getting the spacing and the distribution for the weight correct so that we have just a little bit of weight on the tongue but not too much. So I'll leave that for the next video, so stay tuned to be on the lookout for that as we finish up this log trailer. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, we'll catch you next time.